Well, hello and welcome everyone to HMA's award-winning application webinar for 2023. Firstly, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name's Christy Headley and I've had the pleasure of sitting on the HMA board for the last 3 years. But I've had a long association with HMA. Our family business, Headworld, applied for an award it's actually 3 award categories in 2009, and we were pleasantly surprised when we won the Manufacturer of the Year award. And since then, we've been avid supporters of HMA. We've applied for many awards over the years. We've been very lucky enough to win some, and we have been a sponsor as well for some of the categories. So I'm thrilled to be here today to host this webinar, and I hope everyone gets a lot out of it. It's going to be an informal chat, so if anyone has any questions along the way, please feel free to jump in and ask them. Otherwise, you can pop them in the chat and we can get to them at the end of the Q&A session. So we'll just go to the next slide. So what we'll cover today is firstly why even enter the awards. We'll go over some of the benefits of entering, who is eligible to enter the awards. I think it's really important that we go over the award categories, key dates for this year's awards, and then I'm going to go through the website and show you actually how to register and how to enter. And then we are going to go to a panel discussion. So before I move on to that, I just want to introduce a few other people that are on the call. So firstly, I'd just like to welcome Jackie, who is our chair of the HMA board. Thanks for coming and joining us, Jackie. And we also have 2 other very special guests with us. We have Lavinia, who is the Managing Director of Live Media. Lavinia is based in the Upper Hunter in Muswellbrook, and her company focuses on strategic marketing, media and communication solutions to help businesses grow. She has recently won an award. She's been a judge for an award, and she's obviously got a lot of experience in writing applications. We also have Paul from KPMG. Thanks for joining, Paul. Paul's day job is actually to write grant applications.
At the end of like a week window, so settle into sleep and get ready.
Hi, Adam.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Welcome to the webinar. So yeah, Paul's day job is to write grant applications, and he's sitting on our HMA judging panel. He's also been a winner in the past, a part of a winning team. So between Paul and Lavinia, we're going to have a panel discussion and go through a lot of hints and tips and what to do and what not to do when submitting an application. So first of all, I'd just like to go through some of the key dates. So applications opened on the 24th of May. We've got our close date on the 18th of August, which is only 5 weeks away. So it is getting close. And if you are thinking about putting a submission in, probably need to make some plans. The finalists are announced in September, and our awards night this year is on the 20th of October, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So I guess why enter the Hunter Manufacturing Awards? There's many different reasons and benefits, and I can tell you from experience, I really love the process of just writing an application and deep diving into parts of our business. I think it's really beneficial to get the team involved and really celebrate what you've achieved as a team. Obviously, if you're lucky enough to win, you can boost your company's reputation and increase their visibility. I think a lot of the events that HMA put on through the year, you're able to come along and meet a lot of other people and strengthen business relationships. I think one of the best things about the awards night is taking your team along. Whether you win or lose, it's great to take them out for a night and celebrate everything that they've achieved. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of these other points further down in the panel discussion, because I know that Paul and Lavinia have their own experience that they would like to share with you. So I just want to talk about where like our geographical region is. We are the Hunter Manufacturing Awards, but we do kind of spread over a large area. So we include Port Macquarie all the way out to the Upper Hunter and all the way down to the Central Coast. So anyone that has a business in that area is eligible to apply for our awards. I know some people have a different idea of what the Hunter includes, but this is our area. So the 23 award categories, we have 14 award categories, and I think it's really important when looking at the award categories that you have a read of what they focus on and make sure that you're applying for the right category. I know that Paul's going to talk about this a little bit later, but it's really disappointing when someone applies for an award, but they would have been much suited for a different category. So firstly, we have the Apprentice of the Year, and I just want to make mention that nominations are open for this award for any final year or recently completed manufacturing apprentice who has demonstrated excellence in all aspects of their trade and training. This award we really encourage for the apprentice and for the supervisor to be involved in the application process, and we actually ask them to sign off, both the apprentice and the supervisor to sign off on the submission. The next up, we have our Outstanding Startup, and we have had some amazing startup businesses apply for this award over the years. But if you are a new startup in the manufacturing sector and you know, you're established and producing and selling your product, this is a great category for you to enter. Next is Excellence in Marketing, and I'm sure that Jackie and Liv are going to say that this is a great award for you to enter. So this award recognises businesses that have demonstrated strong achievements in the field of marketing. The next is our Excellence in Building Workforce Capability for the Future. This category recognises businesses that have successfully improved the capability of their workforce. So this is all around your people, and it's closely aligned with your business strategy and performance. The Excellence in Sustainable Operations, I think this one's really important to unpack and make sure that people understand what this category actually means. So the category recognises businesses that have significantly improved the business performance in the area of their sustainable operations. So what that means is that this may include environmental, social and governance, a path to net zero, energy and environment management systems. It could include water and energy use, waste management, the circular economy. It's all about things that you are doing that are sustainable in your operations. So we had some great applicants last year, and we're really looking forward to seeing the applications that come through this year. Excellence in Innovation. This is definitely one of the more popular categories. And I think it's important to note that, and Paul's going to talk a bit about this, and Paul, please jump in and have a chat to me about this one, but it doesn't have to be a product. It can be an innovative process. It can be just an innovation throughout your business that might be something worth mentioning. The next one is product. Sorry, go Paul.
Oh, look, I was going to say, between the two, product design and innovation, that's certainly one that we get a lot of questions about every single year. So product design by definition is typically innovation in products. The innovation category is far more holistic and broad. So you might have a production line that you've come up with a particularly new and innovative process. You might be doing things differently. You could have integrated new technology into the business. It could be anything. But the product design is absolutely, you need to have a product that you're actually putting forward.
Yeah, excellent. And I know from experience, we always question whether we should put our product in the innovation and or the product design category. So I actually learned something the other day while I was talking to you, Paul, and I know in the future which one I will definitely be putting our products in. So thank you for that explanation. The next one we have is the Rising Star Award. So this award goes to someone that is in your business that is showing great initiative and leadership and is really shining in what they do. There's not really, it doesn't matter what position they're in. And so this award goes through an interview process as well. So it's a little bit different to all of the other categories. One of the benefits of the Rising Star Award is the winner of that award gets to come and sit on the board of HMA for the following year. And we do that so that they have experience of sitting on a board and they also usually and have in the last 3 years that I've sat on the board had some great value and impact. The excellence in export and global supply chains. I know this one very well. We've won this one a couple of times, but it's for businesses that have created a significant revenue stream through the establishment of their export markets or have participation in one of the major global supply chains such as defence or aviation. So that's a great award, especially in our area. It's very, I'm always amazed of how many of our local manufacturers actually export. Excellence in manufacturing capability. This category recognises outstanding work done to improve the manufacturing systems, processes and tools that lead to significant improvements within the business. The next one is our Collaboration Partnership Award. Again, this is where two businesses have come together to collaborate and to create either an innovative product or to improve processes throughout their business or one of the businesses. This collaboration award, it's really important that both parties are involved in the application process. The Manufacturing Leader Award recognises a leader within your business that has a substantive track record in the manufacturing sector. Again, this one is determined by a panel of judges selected by the HMA board. And then we have our two big awards. So our two large awards are our Manufacturer of the Year. We have split these up so that I guess it's fair when we're looking at smaller businesses rather than larger businesses. So we have split this into two for less than 50 employees and 50 or more employees. And this award is someone that has a clear focused strategy and offer to the market that is recognised for its consistent high quality and sensitivity to customer needs. They will have to have strong systems across the board from production to safety, the environment and marketing. Their people will be motivated, skilled and highly productive and be recognised and rewarded for their efforts. So this is our big award, and to enter into this award you must enter into at least one of the other categories to be eligible to enter into the Manufacturer of the Year. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to flick over very quickly to the, sorry, I'll just stop sharing and then share again the website. Can everyone see that screen? Perfect. So just very quickly, I just wanted to show you where to register and where to apply for the awards. So this is our website. The first button up here, registration. It's really important to register. It's a very, very simple form, fill out in a couple of minutes. It's just got your company name, some contact details, and then what awards you might think that you will enter. It's not a guarantee, like you don't have to enter all those awards. So if you have high hopes and you would like to look at all of the submissions and get sent the Word documents to have a look at them, please select as many as you like. In the section 2, we have the option here to have the application forms emailed to you in a Word document. This is really important, and I know that from experience, we sit down and we actually fill all of our applications out in Word before we then submit them online. And I know that Paul and Lavinia will talk a little bit more towards this in the panel discussion, but it's really important that you have a space to be able to write your applications before submitting it. So if we go back up to the menu and apply now, this is where you'll find all of the different categories. And if we just click into one, whoops, we'll go into sustainable operations. This is where firstly you can find the focus of the category, and you can really deep dive into what the category is for and make sure that it's the right category for you to apply in. And then if you go down, you can download the full application pack and category questions. And to apply now, you can simply click on this button. And down the bottom here, we have the judging criteria. So you can see how the judges will and what they're looking for, but also the weight of each question. These ones are this is 10 points for every question, so I would put definitely the same amount of effort in for them, but there are other categories that there might be 20 points for one question, so I would obviously spend a little bit more time on that particular question. So does anyone have any questions while I'm on the website of how to actually submit or register? Nope. Okay, perfect. I'm just going to stop sharing and
Christy, just another point about the website for those that haven't applied before. Those Word documents are actually available to download on the category pages as well. So we can email them to you, but you can just quickly click on the link on that page and access the Word document for you to fill in from there as well.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, now we are going to invite Lavinia and Paul to have a bit of a panel discussion. I'm just going to start off with a question, and again, if anyone has any questions throughout, it's a very informal chat, so please jump in or save your questions to the end. Either way is fine. So Lavinia and Paul, from your experience, and I led to this before, what's the significance of entering the HMA awards, and what benefits can be derived from this?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. So I guess I was working with a business down a rail that picked up 2 different category award wins in 2012 and 2013 in manufacturing process one year and training the other. Few key takeaways out of that for me. It was a huge team building exercise that we went through and applied. We ended up developing a video to go along as supporting material to talk about the manufacturing process improvements we had, and the level of pride that flushed out of all the staff members was really significant. And when we walked away with the win, we came back, we were having celebratory barbecues. It was something that lived on for a long time. And I know in my role, being out and about in the market a lot now, working for a lot of local companies, I see all the awards actually regularly in people's offices. It's something that people are really proud of, and so they should be.
Thanks, Paul.
From my experience, it's a really great opportunity to reflect on what achievements you've made in your business. And usually there's some really good questions in that form to really prompt you to kind of think, and then you might consult other people in the team. And as Paul mentioned, it is a good opportunity to kind of talk to the team. And often it might ask you about your plans for the future, and that's also a good opportunity to reflect on what's to come in your business. And long after that submission has, been sent in, you are certainly still thinking about those things, and it's a bit of motivation, I think, for business development.
Yeah, I totally agree with that from our experience, and I think when we won in 2009, we were actually so grateful and surprised of the I guess the exposure that we got of winning that award. It was definitely a great first application process that we went through, and we actually did the same thing. We had a board member come up to Headworld and had a chat to us, and I was only just started with the business back then, and I actually was a part of the team, and we sat around the table and discussed everything, and it actually brought up a lot more actions and things for us to go back and work on as well. So yeah, I agree with both.
It's absolutely being part of the whole manufacturing community, isn't it? It's like, when they hold the launch event and it's held at last year's winner, the level of pride from that business is so high. And you really see it's an opportunity for everyone else to learn, seeing all these different environments, like the launch at MITS was such a good example.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So what can you both share, or can you both share some insights on some common challenges faced by businesses to even get started on the applications, or challenges that they have throughout the application process? I think it's important to recognise that, we all get really busy with our day-to-day life, and what are some of the challenges that you have heard of past participants, and how can we overcome them?
It's interesting, Christy. Oh, sorry. I think in the role that I'm in, writing grant applications is actually a day job. But for the majority of all these applicants, right, they've got a day-to-day business. There's hectic production environments. This is one of those things that's probably a little bit in the nice to have category, and it's certainly not something that has the daily pressures. Probably the biggest takeaway that I hear all the time is people running out of time. That's a really key one. The other common theme that pops up all the time is not knowing who in the business that they should actually put on to write the application. And I think it's probably very similar to a company applying for a government grant or incentive, where they'll give it to one person and just think that that one person will be the solution, turnkey, and write a winning application. I think we'll talk about more later, but that's probably not the right approach. A couple of things I really see regularly pop up. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I myself recently entered into the Muswellbrook Chamber of Commerce Awards and very proudly won Outstanding Business Leader of the Year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Writing that application, I kind of had it on my list to, I'll get to that, and really didn't prioritize that in the lead up. And then it was like down to like the day before, I'm like, right, I've got to make some time, and I've got to jump in, and I've got to send off this application. And it literally took me a full day because I had to really digest the questions. I knew, because I do a lot of writing, that the judges would be looking from that perspective as well. How does Liv fill out her own application? And did spend a lot of time addressing those questions, but then stopped and then left it a few hours and actually come back to it again. And I actually came back to it 3 times, did a final proofread, and when I pressed submit, I had to feel 100% yes, I'm putting my best foot forward. And when it come to actually winning, the judges explained that it was a very just a very narrow window between me and another person winning, and they said it did come down to the quality of the application that just gave it that extra mark, I guess. So we can't underestimate that the time it takes to put in a really, really great application.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I see, you can almost turn around to tell who in the team has written the application. So in a small business, you've very much got an all-rounder. They will know all facets of the business, and that's, I guess, the success of small business. In a bigger business, you'll often see where they'll have a technical team and the engineers will write that. I come from a technical background, so I very much understand. There'll be all this facts, evidence and data, but they won't have woven in enough of the narrative of the big picture of what they're actually trying to achieve. Conversely, on the other side, sort of probably Jackie blocked your ears a little, but the marketing team get the mission to go and write that. And it's written very high level. It's often lifted from some particular marketing material that they have, and it's not usually tailored enough to the actual criteria of the questions. So there's sort of a third group, which is a bit like that small all-rounder, where companies have a team and you can absolutely tell when that's happened. And they've got different skill sets and they're being blended together. It's an absolute success story.
Yep, absolutely.
As an extra note, something that I observe is, you know, Australians tend to have that bit of a tall poppy syndrome, or it can go the other way with just not having the confidence. And I've spoke to a lot of businesses and suggest that they enter in awards and, oh no, there's someone bigger out there and there's someone better out there than me, and almost projecting to the world that they would never ever win. So I think it's a good point to make, that just actually have confidence in yourself that you've achieved great things, and there's nothing wrong with being recognised for that.
Absolutely. I think that that is an absolute great point. I know that there's a few businesses in Singleton and Muswellbrook that I've spoken to that have that attitude. So, and they've done amazing things, absolutely amazing things. So, so when they've decided that they are going to enter into an award, what is your take on what category they should enter, or if they are unsure, what's your advice?
From
I
my
guess I'll go for it, Liv.
Thank you. From my perspective is, speak to the board, speak to Hunter Manufacturing Awards, reach out to Alan, or pretty much I'm sure anyone on the team, to kind of say, hey, I'm really interested in entering, but I just need a bit of clarification around which category I, should be entering. So I think if you're hesitant or you're unsure, instead of just pressing a button and taking a lucky guess that this is the right one, there could be a better category that you're more likely to win. So just reach out to the board, Alan, HMA, anyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, one of the things I see at the tail end of the application process, we get all the judges together and we have a group judging session. We all compare notes. It's hugely interesting exercise just to see how much innovation is out there in the region and how much capability and capacity is there. One of the things that happens every time is almost this spot where we're sitting here saying, I can't believe that company didn't apply for this particular category. So there's always examples. One year that stands out to me was an engineering firm that made widgets, and they entered it in a particular category, and it was a compelling case. There was absolutely first-class application, first-class product. That product actually solved a solution that reduced the use of concrete in a particular industrial environment that was in the order of sort of 30% reduction. Had this huge level of environmental gains. If you look at the power consumption that's going in, the raw materials, they didn't even think about that was a relevant category that they could have gone in because they have a product. So I guess just question what the outcome of what you're actually doing and what that actually has that could be competing against other applicants.
just as a final add-on to that particular point is when I entered into the Muswellbrook Business Awards, when I went through the judging process, they actually said to me, "Oh, we're really, really surprised that you didn't enter the Making Muswellbrook Award." And I said, "I'm surprised that you think I should have entered." And they're like, "Well, of course." So there was that, even within myself, kind of might not thinking I was, for particular categories. So what I took away from that was I probably should have asked my team, or I could have even asked my clients, "Hey, here's some award categories. Which ones do you think we should enter?" I think I might have got a bit of a different response because other people see your achievements very differently to what you do as an individual or as a company. So
I definitely agree with that. We had a business last year that entered for the first time, and they came to me and said, "I'm entering in this award." And I was like, "Why are you not entering the Sustainable Operations Award?" It was the same thing. And it's just a part of their business. It's what they do, but they recycle like everything. So I think it's really important to have that outside perspective and opinion on what categories. So I just might circle back. You guys both spoke about time and how much time it takes to, write a winning application. Can you give some estimation around the time?
Yes, from my side, there's a couple of different approaches that you can go through and write this. So I guess Liv described one approach where you're sitting there, you're very focused and diligent, and you're working through this sort of over the process of a single day to continually refine that. That's a big job. And I guess those that know every facet of a business, that works well, that small operator, jack of all trades across every detail. I see with companies that we work with applying for grants, that's often not the case. You've often got to go and get multiple bits of input from multiple stakeholders. And I think my recommendation is absolutely, if you can get some diversity across your company in these applications, whether it's people from a finance side, technical engineering, marketing, comms, any of it together provides you just so much extra innovation in your application. So there's two parts to answer that, I think. One is, yes, there's an amount of time, which is probably similar. It's probably still a day's work. But the reality is that collaborative approach, it's going to take you a number of days. So we've, as a company here, put in for a number of different awards over the time. And the process that we've worked through has very much been download the Word document, literally have that on a shared document. We've had our team, we've brainstormed in all these different points together on whiteboards, had these dot points in. Out of, say, the 10 questions, the reality is you'll pinch points from questions 1, 3, and 5 and move them to the end because they tell the narrative a little bit better, and not to spend all your time trying to write it in paragraph form from the get-go so that you understand the message that you're looking for. You can challenge each other in a healthy environment. You can know what facts and evidence you need to get to go and say, this particular device saved this many hours, this much sales opportunity. That's a really compelling argument. And I think once you've sort of got those dot points in place, you can assign it to someone to actually write it up. But getting the real buy-in across the business, I think, is a really healthy thing. It's healthy for the business too.
Absolutely. Did you have any other comments on that, Miriam?
Yeah, thank you, Christy. I guess it just depends on your business, on your company, how big it is, what resources you have available. But I agree with Paul, wherever you can get buy-in, you should definitely do that. And then to touch on Paul's earlier point of making it a team exercise and involving those people in the business so that they actually go away feeling like they've made a valuable contribution. And then if you win, everyone feels like they contributed to that win even more.
Yeah. And you just spoke about, a team and having multiple people help with the application. what's the best way of identifying those individuals and in anyone's business?
My view, it's about getting different thoughts and different perspectives. So looking for the different skill sets, I think, is important, but you do need to find people that are going to be willing collaborators together. So it's like any team environment, isn't it? If you've got a group that's going to gel and come up with ideas, that's fantastic. So people that know each other and work together well is a good thing, but ideally with different skill sets. So the times that we've done that here in this office, it's probably played out over the course of a week, you know, where there's been little bits and pieces that's done. People have then gone away and added some other bits to the shared document. And then at the end, having the time frame for someone who's a bit independent to read it. One of the things I think you need to appreciate, all the judges, they're all capable people, they're all intelligent, but they're non-sector specific. So we'll have to compare some really unusual different sector bits. I remember some years we've compared devices that is maintenance equipment for an F-35 to a drawing aid to teach school children how to draw in perspective. Like, that's a difficult exercise, right? Huge, broad range. So if you can write in plain English without having a huge amount of jargon and actually explaining what that sector and demographic is important to them is a really good thing to help the judges do their job properly.
Thank you, Paul. A bit of a different angle is an awards like the Hunter Manufacturing Awards have been going for many, many years. So it should be no surprise to anyone when they see that, hey, the awards have opened. From a business's perspective, entering awards is one of the best public relations exercises that you can do. So I would actually suggest, as part of your marketing plan, is to actually look at all of the different awards you could be entering locally, and make sure that you just do that every year and you revisit that every year and do it from a team approach. Because a business like myself that has gone through that process of being named as a finalist and a winner, and then there's been stories, there is so much marketing mileage to be had from being a finalist and from being a winner. And I know, because I work quite closely to that, because we're working with HMA to manage their PR and their media, we have generated national exposure for some of the smallest businesses, including Carwell Rock last year, who is a wine manufacturer that turned, I guess, as part of the circular economy, is producing gin from the grape skins, and they've had coverage across the country, and they're just this little business in Singleton on a national stage. So there's lots of merit in proactively entering awards, and from experience, in particular, those that win with HMA, there's just opportunities are endless for that exposure for free. Free.
Talks to this year's theme, doesn't it, Jackie, really, ultimately?
That's it, made in the Hunter for the world.
Absolutely, and that's who I was speaking about before. Carwell Rock, they were entering into the startup category, and I was like, why? Like, you need to be in the sustainable operations. You recycle wine into gin, and then even the bottles the wine comes down, they ground down into very small particles and make road base. Like, it's just such an amazing process that they do. So moving along a little bit, how do you write a compelling application and a compelling story? How do you get what you do into words?
I might kick this one off.
Yep.
It's I guess there's many components of writing an application, and there are different things that you need to take into consideration. So one is answer the questions. We can sometimes read a question and have an interpretation in our mind, and then we can just write it, but actually revisit that question and make sure that you've answered that correctly. Then there's the facts and the figures and being able to provide that supporting evidence. And then there's the genuinely telling the story of your business. Then when a judge is reading that application, they should be able to start and finish without having any prior knowledge of your business. And once they've read that, they should know the story of your business. So I really encourage that you tick those boxes. Yes, I've answered the question. 2, I've provided supporting evidence. And 3, I've told a compelling story. And everyone's story is their own, and no one can tell your story as good as you. So be proud of that story, and not just all the good things and all of the wins. If you've had a challenging time and things haven't been so great, I would actually encourage you to note that, because that shows resilience and problem solving and all of those things, which I think all contribute to a really, really great application.
That was a great answer, Liv, I think.
Yeah, I think it was too.
Thank you.
I think really explaining the need for what you're doing is really important. Like, as a judge, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't be across all the sectors. I think one of the pitfalls that I see people falling into the trap is question number 1, they try and tell everything and explain it all in one. Question number 1 will have a question with a series of things you should be answering. So some of the application questions actually have a question at the beginning that isn't worth any points, and it is, please describe the need for the product, the sector, what this thing actually does. So that then you actually start in the first question, it says, explain this detail, you can actually jump into that detail. So I guess if that is the case, think about it. If it doesn't have that opportunity, which some of the categories don't, make sure you're spreading the narrative across all the questions. I think that's really important. Don't get caught in the trap of trying to tell the whole product story in the first question and actually missing the point, because the reality is that'll be out of 10, you might get 1 or 2, and yet you could have spread that same messaging across your 10 points.
And with that, what's the importance of supporting evidence as well, Paul?
Look, I think from my side, there's a number of different ways you can look at it. Companies make a lot of claims. Those that can actually turn around and say, here is the evidence of what it is, it's convincing, number 1. The other thing is, some of the scale of local manufacturers are doing things is just so significant, you've got no idea. And then when you actually start reading these details, it really shows local manufacturers punching above their weight. So you can talk around metrics that are, this thing does so many tons per hour, right? That doesn't mean anything to me. But hang on, if it's all of a sudden it's this many tons per hour and industry norm is X, that's a 30% improvement. That sort of explanation is a really compelling case to your claim.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to note that online you can submit supporting documents, so you can upload photos or videos or anything else to help explain and to have that that evidence to back up your claims.
So as a judge, you're sitting there kind of with a couple of different computer screens open, you're looking at these application questions, you're flicking back and forward to all of the different bits that have been uploaded. Pictures and images are great. Links to YouTube links are also helpful to see how things are done. Yes, we're all volunteers, volunteering our time to do this. If you can be succinct, it actually makes it more convincing. Sometimes I've seen people say, oh, we've uploaded our 97-page business plan and we've uploaded a 4-hour documentary here. It's actually all diluted. Companies that do it well, I can think of a number of them now, they'll have a slide that's uploaded that says supporting evidence for question 1, and it'll have 2 pictures and it'll have some little thought bubbles around it and diagrams. So as you're reading it, as a non-industry sector expert, you can look at the picture and really get that vibe. And when you are splitting hairs between different applicants, the quality of those submissions do really help.
I think that's
You don't need to be the world's best graphic designer. It's about communication.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Really great feedback. So once you have written the submission, and before you go online and submit it, is there any kind of proofreading or checklist that you would suggest going through prior to submitting?
Absolutely. We as a company, that's what we do every day, is proofreading and editing and making sure that businesses are selling themselves really well, and they're doing that in a way that's going to be understood by the viewer or the reader. So after you've written the application, take some time, go away, come back. I would highly recommend that you would share that document, if you're comfortable, with other people on your team. Could be the lady in admin. It could be your best salesperson, because they know how to sell your business better than anyone, because they're out there talking all the time. So engage with the team, get their feedback, and get their thoughts, and just make sure that you're 100% comfortable with what you're submitting.
So feedback I hear from different companies that's done that exact process, and they've gone to that independent person, someone who's an intelligent person but doesn't live and breathe that detail, will be, hey, you've actually filled this full of jargon. You're used to writing tender responses to clients in a very closed, insular little environment. And you know what? What you're communicating on a day in, day out business is 100% appropriate. But when you need someone else to understand it, it's not clear and no one can follow. That's one of the things I've heard regularly pop up. So looking to someone who's just independent to read it at the end and give you feedback, be willing to hear the feedback too, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Paul. I know from a newspaper perspective, journalists write to a certain reader at a certain level, so that people can comprehend and they can understand. So definitely be conscious of that jargon, that technical lingo, even with abbreviations. Just always assume that someone else doesn't know what you're talking about, and really bring it to a layman's level of comprehension.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and our neighbour actually proofreads some of our things just for that reason. She's not in the industry, but she proofreads, and if she has any questions, then I know that I haven't explained myself well enough. So it's really great advice. So just quickly before we get into some Q&A, Paul, what is the judging process? How's it conducted? And I guess,
I'll look a bit of an overview.
Yeah.
We've got a number of different judges that are made up from people that are aligned with the particular categories, whether it be innovation, product design, people with startup experience. We've got a head judge that oversees, I guess, the governance from that whole perspective. In addition to that, the judging panel is different than the board. And we don't come together, not that we don't like each other, but we've definitely got this thing air gapped so that there isn't an ability for one side to influence the other. So the board of directors sit there on the night and they don't know who's going to win, which I always find a little bit interesting because the judges do. But we're not involved in the whole pre-planning scene. We obviously come together to help on exercises like this to communicate to potential applicants. So we go away, we've got a series of criteria that each of the categories have. We review those. It is hard comparing such different applications. Then we have multiple judges on some categories that have a particular high number of applications. We've got a process in place that if there is any conflict of interest, and even a perceived conflict of interest, that we will bring in an independent judge to judge that plus some other applicants to help calibrate that. And this is the Hunter. It's not 6 degrees of separation. So that regularly happens where someone's worked at a different company. So it just hand up and it's flagged and it's transparently run. We finally have a group judging session where we all present our findings. And I find that one of the most inspirational days of the year, actually, because you just hear all of these stories of innovative stuff and just the cream of the crop. It's really amazing.
I can imagine you would read some amazing applications and be able to deep dive a little bit more into some of the great Hunter businesses. So thank you so much for your time, Paul and Lavinia. We might open up now to some questions. So is there anyone else or anyone on the call that has any questions for any of us? Jackie as well.
Yeah, I can fire off some questions. So you guys talked a bit about kind of some phenomenal swings and a miss with people entering fantastic submissions into the wrong category. Would it be possible to kind of get a bit of a sense check from on a submission, just kind of like a high level, hey, we're thinking about entering this in this category, sense checking with like the board or the judges or something like that, where they can be like, yep, I think you're suited to this category, you know, keep going, or, you know, maybe you guys should consider this category.
I think in the first case, you'd take that through to Alan, and Alan triages that. And if there's a particular detail that's between two particular categories, he's the person that can then come to any of us and ask for advice. I think we're all pretty committed to this cause, right? And when we get to the end and we see that application that we're all reading it saying, this is such a good story, why isn't it over there? We'd love to be able to avoid that. And it probably only happens, Adam, from that sort of proactive approach of you getting in front of it up front. There's nothing to stop you from doing multiple applications, even on the same product, for example. And if you do that, just be careful that you don't just cut and shut the text into all of the different questions. There'll be a level of, I guess, opportunity to recycle some of the content, but it will require to be tailored.
Yeah, that's it. That's the problem we've had in the past, and we end up putting a whole bunch of effort into one, then being like, oh, it's kind of applies here. Oh, what do we do? Well, we don't have enough time to do it all again because the questions are often quite different, and so we end up just doing one and just focusing on one, and then you know, it's up to the robot god what happens next. Okay, cool. So basically hit up Alan. Alan can probably give some like high level, just informal, you know, strategy of which category to apply for based on it.
He'd flick us an email from whichever judges, but I think going with a bit of a thought pattern out of what you think. So I'm thinking, what's the difference between A and B? Which one should I go with? It's often the things that people don't see. So sound it off the team. Like, you've got a pretty clever group out there. Get their thoughts on board too.
Yeah, it's difficult for us kind of on that around. I mean, Lavinia touched on it, just the effort overhead. For us, we're an agency style business, so kind of getting a big group together to put in is actually really hard for us. Because I'll be taking on paid projects. To take 5 guys on a paid project, that's $1,000 an hour of lost productivity. And so it's not super feasible for us in our personal situation to do that. So it does basically fall to the sales and marketing team, which is, you know, myself and Brad. And so we basically have to pick and say, oh, which one are we going to go? So we've got a way forward there with Alan. My other question there is, would it be possible to get successful past examples submissions posted? Just one for each category, just so we can get a really good feel for what the language is. I think sometimes we may write in such a way that is not conducive for our audience, and we may do the entry a disservice and probably frustrate the markers in the process.
Adam, I think you've raised some really great questions, and myself as a company, I'm not person in my business that does all these things in isolation, and often can feel like, oh, if I get someone else involved, time and money, and I'm pulling them away. And how many times can you do that? Because you might want to enter multiple awards. So it's a really, really great point to make. And what was your second point there? Sorry.
Examples.
At the examples.
Examples
So I guess
help us run a shortcut, because writing something very like writing a short letter is much harder than writing a long letter. And we would often find ourselves being nervous about not achieving full marks in a category. And so we end up just repeating ourselves again and again and again, just in case, we didn't say the magic word that would get us the tick.
So Adam, I guess part of my question there is, have you entered many other awards?
I've entered the HMA 6 times and never won. So I'm desperate. I'm trying to work out how. And that probably leads me to my third question, which is, Paul and you guys sound like doing some fantastic marketing, fantastic collaboration. If we could get access to the resultants of that marking, that would provide phenomenal feedback for us to then feed into maybe winning on the 7th or 8th or 9th time. But right now we're kind of at a complete loss as to, what we could do any different to the 6 other applications have done.
To kind of try and answer part of that question, I guess one side there's the confidentiality aspect of companies sharing work and so forth. We could obviously take that back up to the board and get their views on trying to approach other companies for examples. The other thing I know from my side, and I think all the judges, we're happy to give more detailed feedback for those that want to sit down and talk about it. So if you want to talk about a past application that you've done and gain some feedback on that, that's another way that we can approach it. And I think that can sort of be done at any time. Maybe it's even a little bit retrospective. I don't mind. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we chatted about that the other day, Paul, and I understand everybody here is a volunteer, and there's only so much time that can be allocated for these sort of things.
It's going to be high level, of course. But
high level. That's it, high level. I think Jackie's just posted a message. Yeah, if there's a paragraph or two, that would be phenomenal. That's at least gives us a direction to course correct for the next time around.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have talked about that as a board, speaking around just providing at least some high level feedback to all of the applicants to help address improving their submissions for the future years. Also, I guess just I also judge national awards programs in the marketing space and have entered awards myself. The thing to note when I am judging is you can only judge based on the responses provided. So, we might as humans know that you're a fantastic business and know all of these other things that you're doing, but we can actually only judge, well, not that I'm a judge in relation to HMA, but the judges can only judge the entry based on the information that's provided in that submission. So you really do need to be clear and succinct and address and cover off on all of that key information. So
yeah, the standard of applications I've seen from year to year, they've gone increasingly higher level of quality year on year. So it is a big deal to pick up a win, I think. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I think the quality of manufacturing work in the region has always been there, but the quality of applications is getting a lot higher, and I don't quite understand the exact change of why that's the case, but the bar's definitely lifting.
As a side note to that, having been a judge recently for the Singleton Business Awards, and not really talking about their specific applications, but sometimes as a business, it can be a deterrent that you might feel your application might not be as good as somebody else's. And as a judge, I have seen phenomenal applications, and I've seen some that are just, they're okay, but they're actually really okay, and they're really great, and they still tell a good story, and they've gone on to win. So it's not necessarily always the most polished application. I think it's usually the most honest application that has a good chance. So
Yeah, I think it's a really important fact, isn't it? We're not judging this on people's written ability, right? This isn't a literacy prize. Manufacturers by nature are kind of salt of the earth people. They tell it how it is. They focus on the problems at hand. I don't think there's anything that you'll be judged heavily if you're not the strongest writer. It's definitely about putting the compelling case forward. And I think the quality of applications, the supporting material is absolutely one of the things that stands out between a good application and not. One that's not will be, here's a picture of just some random picture that's sort of not even like taken the care to make sure that it actually showcases the details of what they're trying to do. And another one where they've got a PowerPoint and they've put 2 or 3 pictures on, they've got some explanations around, they've actually linked that to be relevant, say this is question 3, and it might be a safety question, and it's explaining the details, and that matches what's in the text. That quality of, have you actually answered the question, like getting the question, going through highlighting the keywords through, it's a little bit, it almost sounds dismissive, but it is actually breaking it into these tiny bits. And then when you've written the thing, can you go through and tick each of them that you've actually got that covered? And then does my supporting evidence match what I'm actually showing and help explain it? And then the last part is there's some really compelling people applying for this, which is, as a judge, it's really rewarding to read such good, detailed applications.
Yeah.
definitely, Paul, I agree. And I think as well, in terms of, you know, showing a lot of resilience to keep on entering and keep wanting to improve and still firmly believe that you've got a chance, and it's just about writing that application. There are services out there, and my company, it's a service that we offer, and this is certainly not a sales pitch, but there are companies out there that will give you, if you want, really harsh critique on what you could be doing better. So, you could find somebody and actually take them a couple of applications and show them and say, hey guys, we've sent these in and we haven't won. How could we improve? And they could say to you things like, it's just too clinical. You're not telling your story well enough. You're not selling yourself well enough. On paper, you just seem a bit grey, but really there's a lot of yellow in there. We need to get that out. So having someone, because a lot of what we've spoken about is internal review, having people on your team. Seek someone else out that is not part of your business that can give you a bit of a third-party overview to point these things out to you. And I think there could be a lot of value in that, some external perspective.
Thank you very much for both of your answers on that. I thank you, Adam, for your questions, and I'm definitely going to bring all 3 of those questions up to the board, and I agree, examples and some feedback will be great. Feedback is definitely something that we've asked for, but the examples, I will definitely make sure that's mentioned at the board meeting.
Yeah, even if all the details are redacted of like what it actually is, just like use great language structure that they love to see. That would go. Even that would be super useful. Yeah,
I'll have a chat to the board and we'll see what we can come up with there. We're out of time. I want to firstly a big thank you to Lavina and Paul for being here today. Liv, I really do appreciate you jumping on, and Paul, your insights from a judging point of view have been great. So thank you very much. There's only 5 weeks till application, so get in, apply, and we really look forward to seeing you on the 20th of October. Thank you very much for joining us today. And if you do have any other questions, please email info@hma.org.au. Alan will be able to answer your question, and if not, he will definitely get onto one of us and we'll be able to get you the feedback or the answer you need. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you.